Hey it's Dana, and I'm here to show you how to make a Misty Forest watercolor painting that I paint inspired by my camp that I went to my whole life in Alberta. It's called Camp Valaqua, and it's in a beautiful forest, and so this painting was inspired by that. So hope you're ready for an awesome tutorial. To prepare, in your beautiful Dollarama paint tray, you're going to want to put some watercolors in it if you're using tubes. So I did before. I put blue in here, and it's since hardened and dried, which is totally fine because you can just add water later. I also have some blue in here, a little bit of blue-green, and then some green here. You just need a pea-sized amount on the side, but don't mix all of that in right away, otherwise it's going to be really saturated. I use a squirt bottle to re-moisten the paint tray, or re-wetten, because it gets all over, and it's perfect because you don't want too much, because I find if I try to pour water on it, then I pour way too much. So I need blue. Oh boy. Okay, so you're going to take your handy dandy squirt bottle, and I need blue, so I'm just going to wet a little bit of this blue. I like the blue-green. Need some greens. Greens over here, blues. That's basically almost all you need in this picture, but I'm going to do a little bit of black too to darken some stuff up. Yeah, just get it a little bit wet like that. Your brush will also bring in moisture too, so that's fine. You don't need a lot if you've already let it harden. If you have a new drop of paint from a tube, then, like I said, keep it to the side and then just draw from it when you need and mix it into these empty spots or spots that already have color with some water. You can obviously spray something that doesn't have any paint in it. I find that helps too, just to not suck all of the moisture out of your brush. So I've got my big brush here, and I'm going to start with, I do a little bit more rich blue for the sky since it's going to get rich green at the bottom. So, but I don't want it to be bright blue because it's like fog. So that's also when this blue-green comes in, but I'm going to use that a little bit more for the tops of the trees. So I am going to use a bit of this rich blue. Okay, I'm liking that. We can always come back a little bit later. Once it's fully dry, coming back later will be a mistake. Trust me, I did that earlier on a piece today, even though I knew not to. But it looks pretty good, because if you're picturing trees right here-ish, then it's lighter to darker. And then I just put paint here because it helps to prime it for the trees and stuff. Then it's not like a stark line where the sky ends underneath the trees. So if your tree is about here, I'm going to do a little bit more. Sometimes what I do is I dab in some color, some water, to get the color off my brush, and then go in and smooth it out. There we go. Looking good. And then you do have to wait for it to dry before putting trees on, but I don't wait 100%, especially if I'm trying to finish it that night. Then I do not. How I do my trees is I start at the top. No, this is a little wet still. If you have a hairdryer, use it. I still don't have one, and I really should get one, because that would have saved me a lot. What I do with trees is, there's a couple different techniques. So this one I'm going back and forth to do the branches. The other way I sometimes do is just straight up sticks out like that. And this one I find handy for once you're doing the bigger trees, because doing each little stroke on both sides is a task, let me tell you. And then you want to go wider at the bottom, even though you're like, I don't want my tree to be that wide. Don't worry, it's going to blend in. There's going to be trees on top. You just want to make sure that you cover that so that way it can blend. Okay, I'm liking that, so I'm going to get some more. Make sure that you grab more of from your dish that you're using so that way your trees stay consistent so it looks like that layer of fog. Okay, I'm going to have to come back to the top of this one because for some reason it is taking 5 ever to dry. Not just 4 ever, 5 ever. You can fade out your bottom line while you have it here, just a bit more if you want to, because you don't want a really harsh bottom line. Otherwise it's going to be really hard to blend. I guess if you wanted to, you could carry it all the way down, but with this part I don't because I primed it with the sky color, so we should be good. I am going to add a little bit of black now to this mixture. I'm going to need some more water and probably some more blue also. But we're not going to use a lot of black because if we use a lot of black, then it'll just be darker and darker blue instead of starting to look like a forest. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. And now you're going to want to put trees in between these trees, but you don't have to go perfectly exact, but you also don't want to cover up these trees too much, and you don't want to leave too much not covered either. So just find the balance that you like. Okay, so as you can see, the top trees are definitely a light blue. You can't really tell we mixed any green in there at all because we hardly did. Then the next layer, it's still going to be blue, but with more green in it, but don't make it too dark of a green yet. You don't want to make it too rich of a green, otherwise it's going to blend too fast and you're going to have all this empty space at the bottom you don't know what to do with. Okay, what we are going to do next, so we had this lighter blue for the first trees, then we mixed it with some green. Over here, a hair of black, just not even a full hair, just like a speck. Over here, now I'm actually going to use this same palette over here to add a bit more green. You don't want to get rid of blue completely yet, but you're just going to slowly phase it out. So this all together is a naturey green mixed with a little bit of sunflower yellow, just a little bit of black to darken it, and a bit of blue. So that's how I got this. So that's looking good there. Okay. Okay, I'm going to jump back in. So as you can see, you're starting to see more definitive lines. That's because my brush is running out of water. And we don't want to start acrylic painting here. That's not what watercolor paints are designed for. You don't want to just take a goop and paint it. Obviously, if you want detail, you can do that. But in this piece, we don't want that too much because we want it to blend. So we need a bit more water. I'm going to dip so carefully in here, like just a tiny bit, because I don't want the color to run off. Grab a bit more. I'm running out. I'd have to fix that. And then go back while it's still wet and blend it, because you want the same color that you had going on in this tree, otherwise it's not going to blend. Even that little bit of me talking to you, it dried enough because there wasn't that much water in it that now it's pulling away the paint and not blending super well. No worries. Get your brush just a little bit wet, don't take off the paint, and you're going to just go back and smooth it out. Smooth it out. Just so it looks seamless. And I think it gets a little too light down here. I mean, fog does settle at the bottom, so like that looks normal, but I think it goes a little bit too light, so I'm actually going to make my tree a little bit wider just to cover that up. Okay, so it keeps pulling the paint away because my brush is too dry and I don't have enough moisture from my color palette over there, so I am going to have to add more water, which means I'm going to have to add more paint. Okay, now hopefully this is the right shade. It's going to be extra see-through now, just a warning, because you added a lot of water. And so, as you can see, it's not going to be the same depth of color. Okay, so now that this is dried, you can sweep off some of those pieces. This is still a little damp. It's a little risky. It's still pretty damp, but I'm going to try it. Okay, next you want to add more green to your mixture because we're going to get more and more green as we go. Okay, I like it. I hope it works. I hope it's not too watery, but we can always come back in. So let's try it. I like that, but I think it's too see-through, so I'm going to look at my reference image, remember what I did, since I have to get mine to match, but you do not have to do that. I want more color. Okay. While this is drying, have you ever heard the joke about the pirate and his favorite letter? You haven't? Well, you've come to the right place. What's a pirate's favorite letter? R. But what's his other favorite letter? I don't know. What's his other favorite letter? The C. Get it? Because he's on the ocean? Oh, good times. So this one took a little bit longer to dry, but that's okay. So as you can see here, I used too much water at first, and then it just kept getting wet and kept pulling the color out. So I just let it dry. Now I need to carefully add some more color back. So you want to dip it into the color. Make sure you still have enough water, but we're going to try to blend it, which can be tricky. So we're going to add green on top and mix it into the tree. And I decided to leave it that it's a little bit darker here and they get a little bit lighter this way because they're still the same tone of green, and these ones worked out well and these ones I'm having troubles with, so instead of fighting with it, I'm leaving it. Okay, now we let that dry and then we can finally get on to our last layer. Okay, because I'm impatient, I'm going to keep going, but this is slightly damp, so I am going to start on this side and work my way this way. Also here it is slightly different, but I'm going to try to cover that up with more trees, because it's sometimes you just get a spot like that, especially when it's on the top of a bump in your paper. It just doesn't want to cooperate. That's fine. What can you do? So if your brush dried in the meantime, just get it wet a little bit again. Go back into the green. This time we want to add lots of green to make sure it's a rich green color, because this is the row of trees that you would see clearly. The fog wouldn't obstruct your view. So you want to make sure that you have enough green to make sure that it's really a strong green. But try it first, and then if you're really not seeing results like I wasn't, then you can go back and add lots of color and lots of the water that has the paint in it, like such. Now this one, because it's the bottom, you're not going to be covering these, so make sure that you get the bottom how you like it. So this tree goes out a little bit more than I'd like, but I know that I'm going to attach the other tree about here. And so from here up, I do like how the tree looks. But you can always go in and add a little bit, a little something something. So be aware of what the bottom looks like, because it's going to not be covered. And then also I like to add a little tree on the side, because you're going to see more trees up close. You're going to see the details. And then this also just helps frame it. Ta-da! I feel like it's looking great. I forgot to go back and fix the top of this tree, so that one might just fade off into the fog. That's fine. There we go. Ta-da! In another video, I can show you how I wrap these and send them out, but for now, this is how I do my Misty Forest watercolor painting, inspired by Camp Valaqua. Check them out in Alberta. That place is my second home, and so I was inspired to paint the forests there, but with a foggy scene, because it's fun. So that is my 8x10 Misty Forest watercolor painting. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, maybe turn on those notifications, you know, do what you do. That would be awesome. And hope to see you in the next video. Bye!